Imagine this. You've been living in your house for years. Maybe you raised your kids here. You know every board on the porch, every squeaky step, every little crack in the ceiling. This place feels safe because it's familiar. Then, one ordinary afternoon, the doorbell rings. On your porch stands a young man in a branded vest, clipboard under his arm, phone in his hand. He smiles, confident, relaxed, like someone who has done this 1,000 times. "Hey," he says, "we're doing some work for your neighbor next door. While we were up on their roof, we noticed a crack on yours. If you don't fix it before winter, you're almost guaranteed to have leaks. We can squeeze you in today, even give you a discount, but only if you decide right now." You look at him. You look at the logo on his vest, the clipboard, the phone with a photo of what looks like a damaged roof, and in your head, a quiet but sharp question pops up. What if he's right? What if you ignore this, and next month after the first heavy rain, your ceiling really does start leaking? What if water gets into the wiring? What if mold spreads? What if the repair ends up costing 3 or 4 times more? In that moment, that tiny what if hits you harder than any storm. Now, fast forward a few weeks. You mention the roof work to your neighbor. They look at you like you're speaking another language. No, they didn't hire anyone. No, nobody was on their roof. No, they never heard of that company name. Then you bring in a real contractor to take a look at your house. They walk around, check the attic, check the shingles, and shrug. You're fine, normal wear and tear, nothing critical. By that time, the $3,000 or $5,000 that you paid to fix the foundation before it cracks or to patch the roof before it collapses is long gone. The guy with the vest and the friendly smile is gone too. His phone is off. The company name he gave you doesn't show up anywhere real. It wasn't an honest contractor trying to help. It was a scammer running a script, and that script worked. This is not a rare horror story from some distant city. This is daily life. Scammers posing as home repair crews go door to door across the country. They don't break in. They don't threaten you. They don't wear ski masks. They come as helpers. They ring the bell, act polite, talk about safety and saving you money. And in 20 minutes, they can walk out with more of your savings than many burglars could ever carry. The most frustrating part? In the moment, when they're standing right there on your porch, it can feel almost impossible to tell a legitimate contractor from a fake one. They sound confident. They use the right buzzwords. They act like they're doing you a favor. And if you've never seen this game before, you're playing on their field, by their rules, without knowing it. That's why this topic matters, especially if you own a home, or your parents do, or you have older relatives living on their own. In the first part of this story, we're going to walk through how these fake contractors pick their targets and get through the door. We'll unpack the psychology behind their pitch, the exact buttons they push in your mind, and we'll look at why smart, careful, decent people still fall for the same tricks over and over again. Then, in the second part, we'll get practical, the red flags that almost always give scammers away, the simple rules you can adopt to protect yourself and your family, and the specific phrases you can use at the door to shut the whole script down without starting a fight. Let's start with where this usually begins. They don't knock on every door by accident. Scammers look for neighborhoods that feel like easy ground, streets where a lot of seniors live, areas where houses sit empty during the day, communities where people are friendly, trusting, and a little uncomfortable with confrontation, places where someone is more likely to think, "I don't want to be rude," than "I need to verify this." They rarely work alone. A van pulls into a street, the doors open, and they spread out. One person takes the left side, another takes the right. Each of them carries the same basic story, tuned a little for whoever opens the door. "We're working down the street and noticed an issue with your siding. We just finished a job around the corner, and from the road we can see your gutters are in bad shape. We're in the neighborhood doing foundation inspections, and something about your place caught our eye." Sometimes they come dressed like a real crew, tools, work boots, maybe even a truck with magnets on the side showing a business name. Sometimes it's just one guy in clean clothes with a clipboard and a phone. The details vary, but the core message stays the same. It's urgent, it's serious, and you are lucky we noticed it today. The first thing they go after is your sense of safety. They talk about roofs caving in, water getting in behind your walls, electrical shorts, flooded basements, mold. They don't explain calmly. They paint a worst-case scenario. If you wait until winter, this could cost you 3 times as much. If water gets in there, it could take out half this wall. If that crack spreads, you might be looking at major structural damage. Their goal in this moment is not to give you information. It's to give you a feeling, anxiety. They want you slightly scared, slightly off balance, picturing disaster. Then they layer on urgency, pressured, but almost everyone likes feeling like they got a bargain. So they say things like, "We quoted your neighbor $12,000, but we can do yours for $7,000 since we're already set up here." Or, "We've got extra materials left from a big job, so we can give you a great price if we use them on your place today." Fear, rush, discount. Those 3 together are the script. All of this is designed to do one thing: keep you from checking. Keep you from saying, "Let me think about it."
keep you from calling your son, your daughter, your neighbor, or your usual handyman, keep you from Googling the company name or reading reviews, keep you locked in your head, dealing with images of a flooded house instead of asking basic questions.
Sometimes they time their visits for when people are at their most vulnerable. After a storm, when shingles really have blown off roofs. After a flood, when basements really are wet. After a wildfire or a big freeze, when everyone is already scared and desperate for help. They may even claim to be working with an insurance company or a government relief program. We're here as part of the recovery effort. The state will reimburse part of this. You just need to pay your share. The pattern doesn't change, though. They don't ask, "Do you need this?" They announce, "You definitely need this, and we're the ones to fix it." They stand on your porch and present their version of reality as if it's a done deal, like all that's left is for you to sign. If no one has ever walked you through this pattern before, it's easy to feel alone in that moment. Easy to think, if I say no and something really is wrong, I'll kick myself later. Easy to feel embarrassed to ask for time or to tell a stranger at your door, "I want to check this out before I agree to anything." Scammers count on that discomfort. They're not just selling fake repairs. They're selling you the feeling that you're being responsible by agreeing quickly. In the next part, we'll zoom in on the pressure points they use and then flip the script, how you can slow everything down, spot the red flags, and turn that conversation on your porch from a trap into a dead end. For them, not for you. The first thing to understand is that these people don't win because you're naive or foolish. They win because they know exactly which human buttons to push. They rely on the same 3 levers every time: fear, urgency, and the illusion of a great deal. Fear, so you feel like you're gambling with your home if you walk away. Urgency, so you feel like you don't have time to think or talk to anyone. A deal, so you feel like you'd be crazy not to say yes. They talk about your roof, your wiring, your foundation, in terms that make everything sound like it's on the edge of disaster. If you don't do this now, it's going to cost you so much more later. If you wait, this could turn into a real safety issue. Then they add the time pressure. We're only here today. The crew is leaving tomorrow. The material we have left won't last if we don't use it now. Finally, they wrap it all in a discount. We're charging your neighbor full price, but we can give you a much better deal because you're right here. Put together, those 3 lines of attack are designed to shut off the part of your brain that says, "Slow down, check this." Sometimes they show up after a storm, flood, or other disaster when people are already scared and tired. That's when they say things like, "We're working with a recovery program. The government will cover part of the cost. You just need to pay your share." They make it sound official, like you'd actually be missing out on help if you don't cooperate. But notice something important. They don't start by asking what you need. They start by telling you what's wrong and acting like it's already been decided that it has to be fixed. Underneath all the clever scripting, there's usually one clear dividing line between scammers and legitimate pros: how they handle money and paperwork. If someone wants 100% upfront, especially in cash, that's a massive red flag. If they say, "We don't do contracts, it just complicates things," that's another. If they dodge when you ask for a business name, license, or anything you can look up, or if they pressure you to make a decision right now at the door, you're not dealing with someone who wants a long-term reputation. You're dealing with someone who wants quick cash and no paper trail. Real contractors don't need you to hand over everything on the spot to prove you're serious. They expect you to ask questions. They're willing to give you a written estimate and a proper contract that spells out the work, the price, the timeline, and the warranty. They usually work with deposits and progress payments, something like a third up front, then the rest tied to specific stages or completion, and they're fine with checks or electronic payments that leave a record. Most importantly, they're not afraid of you saying, "I want to think about this," because they know their work can stand up to comparison. So what can you actually do in real life to protect yourself and your family? Start with one rule and repeat it until it becomes automatic. You do not make decisions about major work on your home at the door. Not with the first person who shows up. Not on the same day, not right now. When someone appears with an urgent story and a today-only offer, your default answer can be something like, "Thanks for letting me know. I never make decisions about my house on the spot. Leave your card and I'll get back to you if I'm interested." If their mood changes, if they get pushy, annoyed, or start repeating, "This is only good today," that reaction tells you more about them than any logo on their vest. If you decide you might actually need work done, treat it like hiring anyone for a serious job. Look up the company online, see if they really exist, how long they've been around, and what people say about them. Get at least 2 quotes from different contractors, even if it takes a few days. Compare not just the price, but the way they explain the work. Does one person rush you while the other answers questions calmly? Does one push for a big cash deposit while the other is fine with a smaller amount and a clear schedule of payments? The cheapest option isn't always a scam, but an offer that's dramatically lower than everyone else's should make you more cautious, not more excited. If you live alone, or if you know you're the kind of person who hates confrontation at the door, set up a backup system before you ever need it. Decide in advance who your second opinion person is: a son, daughter, sibling, trusted neighbor, or friend. Make a simple rule: any job over a certain amount of money must be talked through with that person before you say yes.
For older parents or grandparents, this rule can be literally written down and stuck near the door or the phone. No decisions without calling first. That way, when someone shows up unexpectedly, they have permission to say, "My kids handle this stuff, I need to call them." If despite all that, you've already paid someone and later realized it was likely a scam, the worst thing you can do is stay silent out of embarrassment. Call your bank as soon as you can and ask if the payment can be stopped or disputed. File a report with the police, even if you think nothing will happen. Share what happened with your neighbors and local community groups. The more people recognize the script, the harder it is for the same crew to hit house after house on your street. You don't have to become an expert in roofing, plumbing, or foundations to be safe. You just need a few clear boundaries. Don't decide at the door, don't hand over all the money up front, don't be afraid to say, "I want time to think and to talk this over." Those simple sentences are often enough to protect you from the exact kind of story that starts with a friendly knock and ends with you wishing you'd closed the door a little sooner.